In a quiet corner of Saudi Arabia, far away from the loud roads and bright markets, there was a small house made of warm brown bricks. The house was simple, but it was filled with something special: peace. Inside lived a Christian family: Father Kareem, Mother Lila, and their gentle daughter, Mira, who was only 10. Every evening, they would sit together, share food, laugh softly, and read stories that filled their hearts with hope. Even though they lived quietly and didn't talk much about their beliefs outside, their home always felt calm, like a soft light glowing from inside. But on one strange night, that peaceful light was about to be tested. The sky was dark and heavy, like it was holding its breath. A warm wind blew across the desert and made the windows shake. Mira was already asleep, hugging her small brown teddy bear. Father Kareem was reading while Mother Lila washed the last cup in the kitchen. Then, something happened. Something fast, unexpected, and frightening. A sharp smell entered the house. Not normal smoke from cooking. Not dust from the wind. Something different, something hot. Mother Lila paused. "Kareem," she called softly, "do you smell that?" Father Kareem stood up. His face changed. "Yes, something is burning." He walked to the window, opened it, and his heart jumped. Flames. Bright, angry flames were dancing outside near the side of their house. The fire was growing fast, climbing up the wall like a fiery snake. The crackling sound grew louder, like wood screaming. "Kareem, the fire is spreading," Lila cried, fear shaking her voice. "We must get Mira," he shouted. He ran into her room. Mira woke up coughing when smoke slipped under her door. "Papa, what's happening?" Her small voice trembled. Kareem lifted her. "There's a fire, my love. But stay calm. We are together." Outside, the flames were now licking the roof. Sparks flew into the night sky like angry red stars. The heat pushed against the windows. The smell of burning wood filled the air. Mira held her teddy bear tight. Her heart thumped fast, like a drum. "Papa, will we be safe?" she whispered. He didn't answer immediately. He was afraid too, but he didn't show it. He looked at the fire, then closed his eyes and breathed deeply. "We trust God," he said quietly. "He is with us." But the fire was now too close. Smoke was entering the living room. The walls were glowing orange. The heat pressed on their skin like a giant hand. Every second felt heavy, dangerous, uncertain. Suddenly, just as the flames reached the window, a powerful wind burst through the night. It wasn't hot. It was cool, gentle, almost like a breath. The fire, instead of growing, paused. The flames flickered. Then they pulled back, just a little, as if something invisible was standing between the family and the fire. Lila covered her mouth. "Kareem, what is happening?" Kareem stared in shock. Mira's eyes were wide, reflecting the strange movement of the flames. It felt as if the fire was being held back by a hidden hand. A shield no one could see, but everyone could feel. The family stood together, shaking, pressing close, but not alone. Something was there, something gentle, something protective. And this was only the beginning of the miracle that would change their lives forever. The flames outside still burned brightly, but something strange was happening, something none of them had ever seen before. It was as if the fire wanted to swallow the house, yet something stronger, calmer, and kinder was standing in its way. Mira held tightly to her father's arm. Her small face was pale from fear, but her eyes stayed fixed on the window where the flames danced like angry shadows. "Papa, why did the fire stop like that?" she whispered. Kareem didn't know how to answer. His mouth felt dry. His heart beat fast, but he forced himself to breathe slowly so Mira wouldn't panic. "I don't know," he said softly, "but I feel, we are not alone." Mother Lila stepped closer, her hands trembling. She could feel warmth on her skin, but the flames weren't touching the window anymore. They stayed just a few steps away, as though something invisible pushed them back. The wind blew again, not a wild wind, not a storm wind, but a cool and peaceful one that felt like a gentle touch. The fire shrank a little more. Lila gasped. "Kareem, it's like the fire is afraid." Or, Kareem whispered, "It's being kept away." For a moment, the family stood in silence. The strange quietness in the middle of danger made the moment feel heavy, like a dream they couldn't wake from. Mira hugged her teddy bear and whispered, "Jesus, help us." The words were small, but they entered the room like a spark of hope. Suddenly, the fire outside flickered again, pulling back even more. Kareem felt a chill run down his back. Not the chill of fear, but the chill of something holy. He turned to Lila. "We need to leave the house now while we still can. The fire might grow again. But the front door, the fire is blocking it," Lila said. Kareem nodded. "Then we take the back door." Quickly, they moved toward the kitchen where the back door was. Smoke floated lazily near the ceiling, and the smell of burning wood made Mira cough. Kareem lifted her again and covered her mouth with his shirt. When he pushed the back door open, cold night air rushed into the house. But something else made them stop in their tracks. The sky above the burning side of the house wasn't dark anymore. It glowed, not with firelight, not with smoke, but with a soft white light, gentle, round, and floating in the air like a small moon. Mira pointed with wide eyes. "Mama, look." Above the flames, the glow shimmered like a shield, smooth and bright. And every time the fire reached upward, the glowing light pushed it down, like a quiet hand saying, "Stop." Lila clapped a hand over her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. "Kareem, is that real?" Kareem felt his knees tremble. "I don't know, but I believe we are being protected." The glow did not speak. It did not move quickly. It didn't flash or roar. It just was, calm, warm, and strong. A peace filled the family's hearts, even with danger around them. It was a peace that whispered through their fear. "You are safe. Keep going. Don't be afraid." Kareem gently pulled Lila and Mira toward the open yard behind the house. The glow above the flames followed them for a moment, like it was watching to make sure they escaped. As soon as they reached the open space far from the burning wall, the glow slowly faded into the night sky. The fire roared loudly again, but it could not touch them anymore. Mira leaned her head on Kareem's shoulder. "Papa, was that Jesus?" Kareem didn't answer right away. His heart felt full, warm, overwhelmed. "I believe," he whispered, "that Jesus sent help." And as the family watched their burning house from a safe distance, they realized something powerful. Not everything can be seen with eyes. But some things can be felt so deeply, they stay with you forever. The fire continued to burn the house, but the family stood far away now, holding one another tightly. The night was dark, but their hearts were still glowing from the strange light they had seen, soft, white, gentle, like a shield sent from heaven. Mira leaned against her mother, shaking from fear and cold. Her teddy bear smelled like smoke, but she didn't let go. Lila wrapped her arms around her little girl and whispered comforting words, though her own voice was trembling. Kareem kept his eyes on the flames. He watched as the fire crawled slowly over the walls, melting wood and swallowing the roof. Yet even in the middle of destruction, something felt different, almost peaceful. He couldn't understand it. He couldn't explain it. He could only feel it. It was as if the fire was burning the house, but not the hope inside his heart. Soon, the noise of footsteps broke the heavy silence. Their neighbors, men, women, and children, began running toward them. Some held buckets, others held blankets. Their eyes were wide with shock. "Kareem, Lila, are you safe?" One man shouted. "We saw the fire from the road." Another said, "Yes, we are safe," Kareem replied, though he still sounded unsure, almost like he was speaking from inside a dream. A woman looked at the burning house and shook her head. "How did you escape?" The front was covered in flames. Kareem opened his mouth slowly. His heart beat harder. He didn't know what to say. Should he tell them? Would anyone believe him? Before he could answer, Mira tugged at his shirt. "Papa, you can tell them. The light saved us." Everyone fell silent. Neighbors stared. The only sound was the crackling fire. A man stepped closer. "Light? What light?" Kareem looked at Lila, then at Mira, then back at the neighbors. He took a deep breath. "There was a glow," he said softly. "A bright one, white, peaceful. It held the flames back so we could escape." The crowd murmured in confusion. "A glow? Are you sure? A reflection maybe?" "No," Mira whispered. "It was like a hand. A hand made of light." Some people frowned, unsure. Others looked frightened. A few pressed their hands over their hearts. But one man, an old neighbor named Samir, stepped forward. His eyes were gentle and wise. "I believe you," he said simply. Everyone turned toward him. Samir nodded. Long ago, when I was young, I heard stories like this. Stories of people being saved when they should have been lost. Stories of light in the darkness. He placed a hand on Kareem's shoulder. Fire destroys, but miracles happen. A loud cracking sound came from the house. Everyone turned quickly. One corner of the roof collapsed, sending sparks flying into the night sky. The flames roared higher, but then something shocking happened. One wall, just one, remained untouched. Not black, not burned, not even scratched. The rest of the house was glowing orange from the heat, but that one wall stood clean and whole, like the fire refused to touch it. Mira stared with her mouth wide open. Papa, that's my room wall. Lila gasped. It is, that's the wall behind her bed. Kareem felt his eyes fill with tears. His throat tightened. He remembered how he found Mira coughing in her room. How the fire was already close. How danger was just seconds away. Yet her wall, her space, was untouched. The neighbors murmured again. That's impossible. Why didn't the fire reach that wall? There must be a reason. Samir stepped closer, staring at the unburned wall. His voice dropped to a whisper. Some walls are protected, he said. Some places are held in the hands of mercy. Lila suddenly knelt on the sandy ground. Tears fell down her cheeks. Tears of fear, relief, confusion, and wonder. I felt something inside the house, she cried softly. Something warm, something gentle. I thought it was the fire, but now I know it wasn't. Kareem knelt beside her and took her hand. What did you feel? He asked quietly. Lila wiped her tears. I felt a presence, she whispered. Like someone was standing near us, not letting the fire come closer. She pressed her hand to her chest. It felt like love, pure love, stronger than fear. Mira knelt beside them, leaning into her mother's arms. We are alive, Mama, she whispered. And we were protected, Lila added. Kareem nodded slowly. He felt it too, deep inside, quiet but powerful. Something had protected them. Something had held the flames back. Something had kept Mira's wall untouched. The neighbors gathered around the family, giving them blankets and warm water. The fire began to weaken as the night grew cooler. But Kareem hardly noticed the flames anymore. All he could think of was the glowing light. The shield that saved them. The wall that remained untouched. He looked at Mira, who was resting safely in Lila's arms. He whispered, almost without meaning to. Thank you. The night felt different afterward. Softer, holy, touched by something unseen. And even though the fire burned the house, it could not burn the miracle they had witnessed. It could not burn the peace in their hearts. It could not burn their hope. This was only the beginning. The night slowly faded, and the first soft lines of morning light stretched across the desert. The fire had finally died down. Only thin trails of smoke rose into the sky. What once had been a warm, peaceful home was now mostly black and broken. But the family was alive. And something powerful had happened. Something that stayed in the air like a quiet whisper of hope. Mira lay wrapped in a blanket, sleeping safely on her mother's lap. Lila gently brushed her daughter's hair. Even though the night had been full of fear, she felt a deep warmth inside, like a calm fire that didn't burn but healed. Kareem stood beside the ashes, staring at what was left of the house. His heart felt heavy, but not empty. Samir, the old neighbor, walked up to him and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. You should get some rest, he said softly. Kareem didn't look away from the ruins. I can't sleep yet. I need to understand why we are still alive. Samir nodded slowly. Some things cannot be understood. They can only be accepted. Kareem sighed. But why did the fire stop? Why did the glow appear? Why was Mira's wall untouched? Samir looked at the unburned wall, the one standing tall despite everything around it being destroyed. It is a sign, Samir said quietly. A sign that you were not alone last night. As the sun rose, the neighbors helped Kareem clear a path through the ashes. The smell of smoke was strong, but they pushed through it. And when they reached Mira's room, everyone stopped. The room was still there. Not perfect. The roof was dark and dusty, and pieces of burnt wood were around it. But the room itself, her bed, her shelf, her small table, her wall, were untouched. Her small lamp was still standing. Her little shoes were still beside the bed. Her drawing of a bright white star, pinned to the wall, was still there, clean and unburned. Lila gasped and covered her mouth. Her star picture, it didn't burn. Kareem knelt and touched the wall. It was cool. No smoke marks. No heat damage. Nothing. How is this possible? One neighbor whispered. It's a miracle, another said. Mira woke up and walked sleepily toward her parents. When she saw her room standing tall while the rest of the house was ruined, her eyes widened. That's where the light was, she whispered. The light stood there, like a shield. She pointed to the exact spot where she had seen the glow the night before. Her room's wall, exactly that spot, was untouched. Lila felt tears fall, not sad tears, soft tears, thankful tears. Mira, she whispered, pulling her daughter close, you were protected. Something else caught Kareem's eye. In the ashes outside the room, where the fire had burned the hardest, there were footprints. But they were strange. They were not deep, not heavy like a person's, not burnt into the ground. They were light, almost perfect shapes, glowing faintly in the early sunlight. Footprints that looked like they didn't belong to a human at all. Kareem knelt slowly, his heart beat loud in his ears. Lila, look. She came closer. Her eyes widened. Are those from the firemen? There were no firemen, a neighbor said softly. None came. We all arrived before anyone could call for help. Mira stepped forward carefully. They look like someone stood there. They look, Samir whispered, like someone stood between you and the fire. The footprints led directly to the unburned wall. Then they simply stopped, like whoever made them had disappeared into the air. As Kareem stared at the footprints, he felt something stir inside him, like a warm voice speaking gently to his heart. It wasn't loud, it wasn't outside him, it was inside, soft as a breath. You were not alone. His eyes filled with tears. He covered his face and let the emotion wash over him. Lila knelt beside him and hugged him tightly. Mira pressed her little hands against her father's back. We are alive, Lila whispered. We were protected, Mira added. We were loved, Kareem finished. The morning sun grew brighter, shining over the ruins. The light touched the unburned room, making it look even more beautiful in the middle of destruction. To the family, it felt like a promise. From ashes, I will bring something new. The neighbors stayed with the family all morning, bringing food, water, and comfort. Some brought chairs, others brought blankets, some simply sat beside them silently, letting their presence speak for them. Even though they had lost their house, Kareem felt something he hadn't expected. Peace, deep peace, soft peace, peace that settled inside him like a warm light. He looked at Lila and Mira. We will rebuild, he said. But not just the house, our hearts too. Lila nodded. Together. Mira smiled through her tears. And the light will help us. The family held hands. The morning air felt fresh. The miracle felt real, and hope felt stronger than fire. The days after the fire moved slowly, like a gentle river healing the ground it passed over. The ruins of the house still smelled of smoke, but the shock and fear of that night began to change into something softer, something full of hope. Kareem, Lila, and Mira stayed with a kind neighbor named Samir, the old man who had believed their story from the beginning. His home was small, but his heart was big. He gave them a warm room, soft blankets, and hot meals. Even though their own house was gone, they felt surrounded by love. Mira often sat near the window, looking toward the remains of their home. She didn't look sad, she looked thoughtful, like she could still feel the light that saved them. One morning, as they all sat together at the table, Samir asked, "What will you do now?" Kareem looked at Lila. They both nodded gently, as though they shared the same feeling. "We will rebuild," Kareem said. "But not only the house," Lila added softly. "We will rebuild our faith inside," Mira finished with a smile. Samir chuckled. "You are a strong family. You have learned something many people never learn, that miracles are real." Returning to the ruins, a few days later, they returned to the old house. The ashes were cool now. The wind blew softly, carrying away the scent of burned wood. Some walls stood half broken. Others had collapsed. But one thing still stood perfectly strong, Mira's room. The unburned wall looked like it was shining in the sunlight. Kareem placed his hand on the wall again. "I will never forget this," he whispered. Mira placed her hand beside his. This wall is like a hug from heaven. Lila smiled through her tears. Yes, my love, it is. They began cleaning the area. Neighbors came with shovels, brooms, and buckets. Some children gathered broken pieces of wood. Women brought water and tea. Men carried heavy stones. It felt like a whole community rebuilding one family's hope. And even though the work was hard, no one complained. The air was full of kindness. The tiny miracle. One afternoon, while they were cleaning the burned floor, Mira found something half buried under ashes. She pulled it out and gasped. It was her small children's Bible. The cover was blackened and a little bent. But when she opened it, the pages inside were perfect. Not burned, not dirty, not torn. Perfect. Papa, Mama, look. Kareem took the little book with shaking hands. He turned the pages slowly. Every word was clear. Every page was safe. Lila pressed her fingers to her lips. How is this possible? Kareem shook his head. It must have been inside her room, inside the place that didn't burn. Samir walked over slowly with watery eyes. This is not just a book, he said. It is a message, a reminder that even in fire, some things remain pure. Mira hugged the book to her chest. It survived, just like us. The new house. Weeks passed, then months, and slowly, stone by stone, wood by wood, a new house began to rise from the ashes. It wasn't huge, it wasn't fancy, but it was warm, strong, and full of love. When they placed the final stone on the wall, Mira touched her teddy bear and whispered, "Thank you for saving us." They painted the walls bright white, the color of the glow that had protected them. In Mira's new room, they kept the old drawing of the bright star on her wall. And above her bed, Kareem placed her little Bible on a small wooden shelf. This room, he said softly, will always remind us of the miracle. Lila nodded, and of the love that never leaves. When the house was finished, they invited all the neighbors for a simple celebration. There was laughter, singing, warm food, and stories of hope. The air felt joyful, like the night of the fire was finally far away, replaced by something beautiful. The lesson that stayed. That night, when the celebration ended and stars filled the sky, Mira stood outside looking at the heavens. "Mama," she whispered, "do you think the light is still watching us?" Lila knelt beside her. "I believe it never left." Kareem came outside too and wrapped his arms around them both. "Mira," he said softly, "fire can burn wood, but it cannot burn love. It cannot burn hope, and it cannot burn the protection God gives." Mira smiled. "The miracle is part of us now." They held each other under the quiet night sky. The fire had destroyed their house, but the miracle rebuilt their hearts. And from that day on, they lived with a gentle courage, knowing no darkness is too strong, no fear is too big, no fire is too hot, when love stands with you. Summary: a Christian family living in Saudi Arabia faces a sudden fire that destroys almost their entire home. As the flames race toward them, a mysterious glowing light appears outside their window and holds the fire back, giving them time to escape safely. When the fire dies down, the only part of the house left untouched is their daughter Mira's room, the same place where the glow had appeared. Strange, gentle footprints are found in the ashes, and even Mira's small Bible is found completely unharmed. With the help of kind neighbors, the family rebuilds their home and their hearts. The miracle teaches them that they were never alone, even in the darkest night. The fire took their house, but it could not take their hope, their love, or the protection they received. Moral lesson: miracles can happen even in the deepest fear. Love is stronger than fire, danger, or darkness. We are never truly alone, even when things seem impossible. Hope can rise from the ashes and create something new and beautiful. Kindness from others can help rebuild what was lost. It teaches that faith, love, and courage can bring light even in the hardest moments. The end.